Let's talk about the 2026 Mercedes CLA. What's the first thing you notice about a car? For me, it's always the face. And the face of this new CLA, well, it leaves me cold. This isn't about hating change. It's about a design that, to my eyes, feels empty. When I look at it, the front feels devoid of soul, personality, or any clear character looking back at you. This is ironic because, visually, a lot is happening. Lights, patterns, and illuminated details are everywhere, yet emotionally, the design feels flat. It's as if someone turned all the visual settings to on, but forgot to program a genuine personality. I genuinely wonder what the mood was in that design room. Was it a calm discussion about elegance, or did someone simply say, "What if it glows?" And everyone else replied, "Yes, everything." Good front-end design typically gives a car a recognizable, memorable face, a persona. With this CLA, I don't get that feeling. Everything feels over-designed yet somehow underexpressive. The illuminated grille and star pattern are a perfect example. They add considerable visual noise but no real identity, leaning less toward confident luxury and more toward a plea of "look at me, please notice me." It almost feels like the design team discovered LED lighting for the first time, decided this changes everything, and then never stopped adding it. The headlights are sharp and aggressive, yet they feel disconnected from the rest of the front. Instead of forming a unified expression, the elements feel separate, as if everyone arrived at the design meeting with a different vision, and nobody was sober enough to say no. And that's where the front truly loses me. When I compare it to the previous CLA, the difference is stark. The older model had a stronger, more coherent face with genuine emotion. It felt unmistakably like a Mercedes. By comparison, this new front feels generic. If you remove the badge, it could belong to almost any modern brand chasing the same trends. It's very 2025, but not at all timeless. There's a jarring imbalance between the calm, simple hood and the visually busy lower section, like pairing a perfectly tailored suit with flashing sneakers, or as if the designers started the project sober and finished it after a very experimental lunch. This imbalance makes the car feel unsettled rather than elegant. For me, this front lacks restraint, confidence, and, most importantly, soul. A great design speaks to you. This one just shouts at you, and the message is surprisingly hollow. I'm sure some will love it. It will stand out at night, photograph well, and likely be visible from space. But when I look at the front of the 2025 Mercedes CLA, I don't feel anything, and that's worse than dislike. The previous model was simply better, possessing a clearer identity, a stronger presence, and more personality. This feels like a step backward in design character, and that is precisely why I don't like the front of the new CLA. Now let's talk about the side of the 2025 Mercedes CLA. If the front is the car's face, then the profile is its silhouette, the line that etches itself into memory as it moves past. And here, the new CLA struggles to leave an impression. Again, this isn't outrage, it's disappointment. From the side, the CLA doesn't look bad, it just looks confused. At first glance, it aims for sleekness, low, sporty, and elegant, but the longer you look, the more that illusion unravels. The proportions feel unsettled. The roofline stretches and slopes in an earnest attempt to appear coupe-like, yet it ends up feeling slightly forced, as if the car is perpetually leaning forward, even at a standstill. This is the classic CLA dilemma, now more pronounced, characterized by long doors, a short visual mass, and a body that seems taller than it cares to admit. The side view doesn't flow with purpose. It merely negotiates its way from front to back. Then there is the treatment of the surfaces. Mercedes has pursued an agenda of smoothness, relentlessly, almost aggressively smooth. The result is a side that feels empty once more, like a perfectly polished stone devoid of any engraving, lacking drama, tension, or narrative. It is aerodynamic, certainly, but it is also anonymous. This could be a Mercedes, or it could just as easily be a concept from a startup that launched last Tuesday. Even the flush door handles, while modern and efficient, accentuate that sterile, personality-free sensation. Everything feels clinically optimized, yet emotionally barren. One can picture the designers assuring themselves, "This will test well," and perhaps it will. But great design isn't about testing well, it's about being remembered. Further complicating matters, the rising beltline and window shape lend the car a visual heaviness it doesn't need. Instead of elegance, the profile appears slightly compressed, as if holding its breath. Compared to the previous CLA, which, while imperfect, carried more tension and attitude, this iteration feels less confident. It's as though the designers sanded away every potential offense and in the process, sanded away the character as well. Even the wheels, viewed from the side, do little to salvage the design. They are merely fine, present but passive, fulfilling an aerodynamic duty while quietly refusing to engage. This ultimately is the theme of the side profile. It is not ugly, nor is it offensive. It is simply safe. So safe that it feels born from a fear of commitment, a fear of bold lines, of sharpness, of definitive personality. The result is a silhouette that is modern, efficient, and clean, yet fundamentally soulless. It is the kind of design you comprehend instantly and forget just as quickly. And that is precisely why the side of the 2025 Mercedes CLA doesn't work for me. Not because it is wrong, but because it lacks the courage to be memorable. Now, let's talk about the back of the 2025 Mercedes CLA. And honestly, this might be the most underwhelming part of the entire car. Not because it's shocking or offensive, but because it feels like nothing at all. When you look at the rear, there's no strong reaction, no emotion, no moment where you think, "Yes, that's a Mercedes." It's just there. The first thing you notice is the light bar. Because, of course, there's a light bar. At this point, it feels less like a considered design choice and more like a mandatory checklist item. Yes, it's modern, and yes, it lights up nicely at night, but it also feels utterly predictable, as if the designers opened the 2025 rear design starter pack and checked every expected box. Then there are the taillights, with the Mercedes star integrated directly into them. This is where the design truly begins to feel forced. The logo doesn't feel earned or organic here. It feels inserted, as if someone insisted, "People need to know it's a Mercedes from behind, too." And instead of crafting a strong design that conveyed that identity, they simply stamped the brand directly into the lights. Once again, it's more branding and less genuine character. The shape of the rear is soft, very soft. So soft that it almost dissolves into the background, lacking any sharp line to anchor your eye, any strong shoulder, or any real tension. It feels like the design team intentionally avoided anything bold, as if someone in the room kept repeating, "Let's not risk it." And that's precisely how the rear looks: careful, safe, and a little bit afraid. Even the bumper design feels undecided. It's not sporty enough to be aggressive, and not clean enough to be elegantly minimalist. It simply exists in an uncommitted middle ground, hoping you won't stare for too long. Compared to the previous CLA, the difference is telling. The older model had a more confident rear. It had shape, it had attitude. This one feels like it's trying very hard not to offend anyone. And while that may work on paper or in focus groups, design by committee rarely excites. If you removed the badge from this car and showed it to me out of context, I honestly couldn't tell you what brand it is. And for a company like Mercedes, that's a fundamental problem. The rear of a car should leave an impression. This one leaves a memory gap. It is clean, modern, and technically correct, but it is also utterly forgettable. Here, the theme repeats. Too much reliance on lighting, not enough on form. Too much branding, not enough personality. The back of the 2025 Mercedes CLA doesn't offend or anger me. It just quietly disappoints. And for a brand once responsible for some of the most iconic rear designs in the industry, That is a strangely hollow place to end up. Taken together, the front, side, and rear tell a consistent story. A car that is technologically adept and stylistically current, yet one that has traded emotional resonance for risk aversion, leaving us with a vehicle that is more a product of its time than a timeless addition to the Mercedes lineage. Now I'll leave it there. A quick disclaimer: I'm not a car journalist, I'm just someone who loves cars and pays attention to design. So in the end, this is simply my personal take on the 2025 Mercedes CLA. Let me know what you think in the comments.